Some nights, the universe itself marks you as unwanted. The blood moon rises over Silver Peak territory, casting everything in crimson light that looks like the world is bleeding. It happens once every 7 years, when a total lunar eclipse transforms the moon into a burning red orb that ancient cultures believed signified transformation, endings, and supernatural power. For werewolves, it's the most sacred night of the decade. The night when pack bonds are strongest, when claiming rituals hold the most power, when destiny itself can be rewritten. For 24-year-old Lyra Ashwood, it's the night that confirms what she's always feared. She's the Omega no one wants. She stands at the edge of the ceremonial grounds, watching eligible wolves pair off under the blood-red sky. The claiming ceremony happens during every blood moon, where unmated wolves can form bonds blessed by ancient magic. Around her, Omegas are being approached, courted, chosen. Their eyes glow with the power of the moon. Their scents bloom with confidence and allure. But not Lyra. She's different, weaker. Her wolf is small, her strength barely a fraction of normal Omega standards. She can't shift fully, stuck in an agonizing half-form that marks her as defective. Her scent is so faint that most alphas walk past her without even noticing she exists. Poor thing, someone whispers, not even trying to be quiet. 7 years waiting for this blood moon, and she'll go home alone again. Another voice laughs, cruelly. The weak Omega who can't even shift properly. What alpha would waste a blood moon bond on damaged goods? Lyra's hands clench at her sides, nails digging into her palms. The red moonlight makes her humiliation feel theatrical, like the universe is spotlighting her rejection. She's about to leave, about to spare herself the final indignity of being the only Omega unclaimed when the ceremony ends. That's when the forest goes silent, not the comfortable silence of night, the terrified silence of prey recognizing an apex predator. And from the tree line, he emerges, the Beast King himself, walking through the blood-red shadows like darkness given form. Lyra's life had been defined by weakness from the moment she was born. Most Omega wolves present between ages 13 and 16, their wolves emerging strong and healthy, granting them the enhanced senses, healing, and power that defines their kind. Lyra presented at 14, but something went wrong. Her transformation was incomplete, agonizing, leaving her trapped between human and wolf in a way that made her useless to the pack. Her parents were mid-ranking pack members, good people who loved her but couldn't hide their disappointment. They'd expected a healthy Omega daughter who would attract strong alphas, who would elevate their family status through an advantageous bonding. Instead, they got Lyra, too weak to hunt, too broken to shift, too damaged to be valued. The pack hierarchy in Silver Peak was brutal and clear. Alphas ruled. Betas served as officers and enforcers. Omegas, while rare and valued for their ability to strengthen pack bonds and produce powerful offspring, still had their place. And at the very bottom, below even the lowest Omega, was Lyra. The other Omegas bullied her relentlessly. They'd bare their teeth when she walked past, reminding her that she wasn't really one of them. They'd crowd her out during pack runs, forcing her to stay behind. During the last blood moon 7 years, ago, when she was 17 and eligible for her first claiming ceremony, they'd deliberately spilled wine on her dress right before the ritual began, making her smell like alcohol instead of the sweet Omega scent that attracted mates. She'd stood there, 17 years old and stinking of wine, while every other Omega was claimed. The humiliation burned so deep she'd locked herself in her room for 2 weeks afterward. Her parents tried to be supportive, but she heard them arguing late at night about what to do with her. Whether they should send her to live with distant relatives in another territory, where maybe she wouldn't be such an embarrassment. Lyra learned to make herself invisible. She took jobs that kept her away from pack gatherings, cleaning the community lodge at dawn, organizing supplies in the warehouse, anything that let her avoid the constant reminder of her inadequacy. She taught herself skills that didn't require wolf strength. She became an expert in pack history, memorizing lineages and ancient laws. She learned herbal medicine from the pack healer, becoming skilled at treating injuries when her weak healing abilities failed. She made herself useful in ways that didn't require her to be what she could never be, a normal Omega. But usefulness isn't the same as belonging. When the blood moon date was announced 6 months ago, her mother had begged her to attend the ceremony. You're 24 now, Lyra. This might be your last chance. The magic is strongest during the blood moon. Maybe it will help your wolf finally emerge properly. Lyra knew it was false hope, but she agreed anyway. She couldn't bear to disappoint her mother again. She'd bought a dress with money she'd saved from her cleaning jobs. Simple white fabric that looked ethereal under moonlight, or at least that's what the shopkeeper had promised. She'd practiced her posture, her smile, her greeting. She'd done everything she could to prepare. But standing here now, watching the ceremony unfold under blood-red light while everyone else finds their bonds and she remains alone, Lyra knows the truth. No amount of preparation can fix what's fundamentally broken. She's the weak Omega, the defective one, the wolf that nature itself rejected. And then the Beast King arrives, and everything she thought she knew about her place in the world shatters. Cale Thorne, the Beast King, hasn't attended a claiming ceremony in over a century. He's ancient by werewolf standards, rumored to be over 300 years old. His territory spans half the northern continent, and his power is so immense that even rival packs bow when he passes through their lands. He's massive, standing well over 6.5 feet tall, with shoulders that seem carved from mountain stone. His eyes are pure silver, the mark of an alpha so dominant that they no longer need gold to prove their status. Scars trace his arms and chest, visible even through his dark clothing. Each one tells a story of battles fought, challenges won, territories claimed. His hair is black as midnight, worn long enough to brush his shoulders. His presence alone makes lesser wolves drop their eyes and bare their throats in submission. He walks through the ceremonial grounds, and the crowd parts like water before a ship. Omegas who were confident seconds ago now press themselves against their newly claimed mates, suddenly uncertain. Alphas who were boasting about their catches go silent, remembering that there are hierarchies beyond what they know. The ceremony's elder stutters through a greeting. "Your Majesty, we didn't know you would honor us." Kyle ignores him entirely. His silver eyes scan the grounds, passing over paired wolves without interest. He's looking for something specific, though no one knows what. The blood moon casts red light across his features, making him look even more inhuman, more dangerous. And then his gaze lands on Lyra. She's backing toward the forest edge, trying to disappear before anyone notices she's leaving. Her white dress glows crimson under the blood moon, making her look like she's been painted in blood. Her eyes are downcast, her shoulders hunched, every line of her body screaming defeat. Kyle moves toward her with purpose that makes everyone else freeze. Lyra doesn't notice him approaching until his shadow falls across her. She looks up, and her breath catches audibly when she sees who's standing in front of her. "Your name," he says, his voice a deep rumble that seems to vibrate through the ground itself. Lyra," she manages, her heart hammering so hard it hurts. "Lyra Ashwood." His eyes narrow slightly, assessing her in a way that makes her feel simultaneously exposed and seen. Really seen, for the first time in her life. Then he does something that makes the entire ceremony go completely silent. He drops to one knee in front of her. For werewolves, the dominant one kneeling is the highest form of respect. It's what mates do when proposing bonds, what alphas do when pledging loyalty, what kings never do for anyone. "Lyra Ashwood," Cale says, his silver eyes locked on hers, "I claim you as mine beneath this blood moon. Will you accept my bond?" The world stops. Someone gasps. Several wolves actually stumble backward in shock. The ceremony elder looks like he might faint. Lyra can't breathe. This isn't real. This can't be real. The Beast King, the most powerful alpha in existence, is kneeling before her, asking her permission, claiming the weak Omega that no one else wanted. Her voice breaks. "Why?" "Because you're exactly what I've been searching for," he says simply, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. He stands then, extending his hand, not grabbing her, not commanding her, offering her a choice. The blood moon burns overhead, casting its red light over them both. Ancient legends say that bonds formed under the blood moon are the strongest, the most unbreakable, blessed by magic that only comes once in 7 years. Lyra looks at his offered hand, at the silver eyes that see something in her everyone else missed, at the possibility of being wanted for the first time in her entire life. She takes his hand. The moment their skin touches, power explodes outward. Red light from the blood moon concentrates around them, forming a visible circle that makes everyone else step back. The ancient magic of the claiming ceremony recognizes their bond, seals it, makes it permanent. Lyra gasps as something inside her shifts. Her wolf, dormant and broken for so long, suddenly surges forward, not to shift, but to recognize, to bond. to complete something that's been missing her entire life. Kale pulls her closer, his other hand cupping her face with surprising gentleness. Mine, he says, and it's not possessive. It's reverent. Yours, she whispers back, the word falling from her lips like a vow. The Beast King has claimed the weak Omega beneath the burning blood. Moon. And the supernatural world will never be the same. The claiming ceremony descends into chaos the moment the blood moon magic seals their bond. Pack members rush forward, some congratulating, others demanding explanations. The ceremony elder tries to restore order while simultaneously trying to understand what just happened. Lyra's parents push through the crowd, their faces showing a complicated mix of shock, hope, and fear. But Kale doesn't engage with any of them. He keeps Lyra tucked against his side, one arm wrapped protectively around her waist, as he addresses the crowd with the authority of someone who's never had his decisions questioned. The bond is sealed, he announces, his voice carrying across the ceremonial grounds. Lyra Ashwood is now under my protection as my chosen mate. Any who wish to contest this can challenge me directly. The threat hangs in the air. Everyone knows that challenging the Beast King is suicide. No one moves. Kale nods, satisfied, and then does something unexpected. He turns to Lyra's parents, who are standing frozen at the edge of the crowd. Your daughter has honored your family, he says formally. Her bond to me brings your bloodline into mine. You'll want for nothing. It's the traditional blessing given to Omega families when their children bond well. But coming from the Beast King, it's essentially a guarantee of wealth and status beyond anything Lyra's mid-ranking parents could have dreamed of. Her mother bursts into tears. Her father looks like he can't decide whether to bow or faint. Then Kale guides Lyra away from the ceremony, toward the forest where his personal guards wait with horses. But before they leave, one of the Omegas who tormented Lyra for years steps forward. This is a mistake, she says loudly, her voice carrying a sneer. She can't even shift properly. How can she be your mate? Kyle stops. The temperature seems to drop 20 degrees. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. My mate's worth isn't determined by her shift. It's determined by her spirit, something you clearly lack. He doesn't wait for a response. He simply lifts Lyra onto one of the horses with effortless strength, then mounts behind her, surrounding her with his warmth and presence. As they ride away from the ceremony grounds, Lyra can feel hundreds of eyes watching them, feel the weight of judgment and disbelief, feel her entire world shifting beneath her. You're trembling, Cal murmurs into her ear, his breath warm against her skin. I'm terrified, she admits, because lying to the Beast King seems impossible. Good, he says, and she can hear the smile in his voice. That means you're smart enough to know how much just changed. But you don't need to fear me, Lyra. Never me. They ride through the forest, the blood moon lighting their path in shades of crimson. The bond between them hums like a living thing, connecting them in ways Lyra doesn't fully understand yet. She can feel his emotions beneath her own, satisfaction, protectiveness, and something deeper that makes her heart race. After 20 minutes, they arrive at a clearing where a massive estate rises from the forest like something out of a fairy tale. Stone and timber construction that manages to look both ancient and well-maintained. Guards bow as they approach, showing deference that makes Lyra's head spin. This is Kale's personal residence, his sanctuary, and now apparently hers too. Kale helps her dismount, then dismisses his guards with a gesture. They're alone for the first time since the claiming, standing in a courtyard garden illuminated by the blood moon's red light. I know you have questions, he says, leading her to a stone bench surrounded by night-blooming flowers. Ask them. Lyra sits, her mind racing with about 1,000 questions. She settles on the most important one. Why me? You could have any Omega in existence. Why choose the broken one? Kyle sits beside her close enough that their shoulders touch. You're not broken, Lyra. You're different. There's a distinction. That's just being kind. I don't do kindness for the sake of it, he interrupts firmly. I've lived 317 years. I've seen countless Omegas, most of them perfect by every conventional standard. Beautiful, strong, socially accomplished. And I've bonded with none of them. He turns to face her fully, his silver eyes intense in the moonlight. Do you know what I saw when I looked at you tonight? I saw an Omega standing at the edge of a ceremony, ready to walk away with her head held high even though her heart was breaking. I saw strength that has nothing to do with how well you shift. I saw dignity in the face of cruelty. I saw exactly what I've been searching for my entire long life. Someone real. Lyra's throat tightens with emotion. I'm weak. You survived years of bullying without becoming cruel yourself, Kale counters. You learned skills others overlooked because you refused to be useless. You showed up to that ceremony even though you knew you'd probably face rejection again. That's not weakness, Lyra. That's courage. She doesn't know what to say to that. No one has ever described her as courageous before. The bond, she says, changing the subject before she starts crying. I felt something when we touched. My wolf responded in a way she never has before. Kyle nods slowly. Blood moon bonds are the strongest possible connection between mates. The eye. Magic amplifies compatibility, strengthens the weaker wolf, balances the pair. He pauses, choosing his words carefully. Your wolf isn't broken, Lyra. She's been waiting. For the right bond, the right mate, the right moment. You think bonding with you will fix me? I think bonding with me will complete you, he corrects. There's a difference. You're not damaged goods that needs repairing. You're a puzzle piece that's been missing its match. The metaphor is surprisingly poetic, coming from someone called the Beast King. What happens now? She asks quietly. Now, you move in here. You'll have your own quarters until you're comfortable sharing mine. You'll learn what being my mate means, politically and personally. And your wolf will grow stronger as our bond deepens. He takes her hand, lacing their fingers together. But all of that happens at your pace, Lyra. The bond is sealed, but how we build our relationship is up to both of us. She looks down at their joined hands. His is so much larger than hers, scarred and powerful. But his touch is gentle, respectful. I'm going to disappoint you, she whispers. Everyone always ends up disappointed. Then I'll be the first who isn't, Kyle says with absolute certainty. Give me a chance to prove it. The first week living in Kale's estate is surreal. Lyra has an entire suite of rooms larger than her parents' whole house. Servants bring her meals, draw her baths, ask her preferences about everything from pillow firmness to tea selection. She's treated like she matters, and it's so foreign that she keeps waiting for the other shoe to drop. Kyle is patient, never pushing for more than she's ready to give. They have dinner together every evening, talking about everything and nothing. He tells her about his long life, the territories he's ruled, the changes he's seen. She tells him about pack history she's memorized, herbal remedies she's learned, the small things that make up her world. And every day, her wolf grows stronger. The bond is doing what Kyle predicted, feeding power into her that she's never had before. She still can't shift fully, but the agonizing half-form is less painful now. Her senses sharpen. Her healing accelerates. But on the 8th day, her old life intrudes. A messenger arrives from Silver Peak Pack with a letter. Lyra opens it to find a warning written in familiar handwriting. Marcus, an alpha who'd rejected her publicly during the last Blood Moon ceremony. The letter is blunt. The Beast King is using you for political leverage. He has no genuine interest in a broken Omega. The moment you're no longer useful, he'll discard you and you'll be left with nothing. Protect yourself before it's too late. The words sink into her like poison, finding every insecurity she's ever had and amplifying it. That night at dinner, she's quiet, withdrawn. Kale notices immediately. What's troubling you? He asks directly. She could lie. She could pretend everything is fine. But the bond between them makes deception feel impossible. I got a letter, she admits. Someone warning me that you're using me. That this bond is political strategy, not genuine connection. She expects him to be angry at the accusation. Instead, he just looks tired. There will always be people who can't believe that I chose you because I wanted you, he says. People who need to invent ulterior motives because the simple truth doesn't fit their worldview. But is there truth to it? She presses. Does bonding with me give you political advantages? Yes, he admits, surprising her with his honesty. Having a mate strengthens my position in some diplomatic circles. But Lyra, I could have chosen any Omega for that advantage. I chose you because when I saw you standing there, something in me recognized something in you. The politics are a bonus, not the reason. She wants to believe him, but years of rejection have taught her that wanting isn't enough. I need time, she says, to think. Take all the time you need, Kale says gently. I'm not going anywhere. Midpoint. The night. Everything changes. 3 days later, the blood moon is at its peak power. The final night of its 7-year cycle, when the magic is strongest. Original Botanica +1. Lyra stands in the estate's courtyard garden, watching the red moon through the trees. The bond pulls at her, urging her toward Kale's quarters where she knows he's waiting. But doubt keeps her frozen. Then she feels him approach, his presence, warming her back before he speaks. The blood moon will fade in a few hours, Kale says quietly. The magic will settle, but our bond will remain, regardless of whether you choose to complete it fully. Complete it? She asks. The claiming sealed our bond politically and magically, he explains, but there's another level, a deeper connection that requires both partners to consciously choose it. It's what transforms a bond of obligation into a bond of genuine partnership. He steps around to face her, and in the blood moon's crimson light, he looks almost inhuman, ancient, powerful, everything she's not. I can't force you to choose that, he continues. It requires your wolf to fully accept mine and mine to fully accept yours. It requires trust and vulnerability from both of us. Your wolf is ancient and powerful, Lyra says. Mine is broken and weak. How can they be compatible? Because compatibility isn't about matching strength, Kyle says. It's about complementary needs. My wolf has been alone for centuries, growing more isolated and cold with each passing decade. Yours has been suppressed and doubted, never allowed to fully express itself. Together, they balance. My wolf's strength can shelter yours while it grows. Your wolf's warmth can remind mine what it means to feel. He takes her hands, holding them gently. I'm asking you to take a leap of faith with me, he says. To choose this bond not because you have to, but because you want to. To let our wolves complete what the blood moon started. Lyra's heart pounds. This is it. The point of no return. If she chooses this, there's no going back. She'll be bound to the Beast King in ways that transcend politics or convenience. She thinks about the letter warning her away, about years of rejection and disappointment, about every reason she has to protect herself. Then she thinks about Kale kneeling before her under the blood moon, about the way he listens when she speaks, about the respect in his eyes when he looks at her, about the way her wolf has grown stronger just from being near him. I'm terrified, she admits. So am I, Kale says, and the vulnerability in his voice makes her look up in surprise. I've lived 3 centuries alone, Lyra. I've forgotten how to be anything other than the Beast King. I don't know if I can be what you need, but I want to try, if you'll let me. And that honesty, that admission of fear and uncertainty from someone who's supposed to be invincible, makes Lyra's decision. Yes, she whispers. I choose you. I choose us. The moment the words leave her mouth, power explodes between them. The blood moon's light concentrates into a beam that surrounds them both, and Lyra feels her wolf surge forward with strength she's never experienced. Not to shift, but to bond. To connect with Kale's ancient, powerful wolf in a way that transcends physical form. Their wolves meet in the space between consciousness and instinct, recognizing each other as perfect complements. And when they join, Lyra feels everything click into place. The bond completes. She gasps as sensations flood her. Kale's emotions, his memories, his unwavering certainty that she's exactly what he needs. And flowing back to him, her own feelings, her fears, her hopes, her growing love for this ancient alpha who saw value where everyone else saw weakness. When the light fades, she's in Kale's arms, and they're both trembling. I feel you, she breathes. Inside my mind, my heart, everything. And I feel you, he murmurs, pressing his forehead to hers. My brave, beautiful mate, you have no idea how long I've waited for this. The blood moon begins to fade as the eclipse ends, returning to its normal silver glow. But the bond between them burns bright, unbreakable, eternal. They've chosen each other, and nothing will ever be the same. The completed bond changes everything. Lyra wakes the next morning to find her wolf fully emerged for the first time in her life. She can shift completely, smoothly, into a form that's smaller than most omegas, but perfectly healthy. The years of agonizing half-shifts are gone, replaced by fluid transformation that feels natural and right. Kyle watches her first full shift with pride that makes her heart swell. But the outside world isn't as pleased. News of their completed bond spreads rapidly. Other pack alphas send diplomatic messages, some congratulatory, others thinly veiled criticisms. The Alpha Council, a governing body of the most powerful packs, requests a formal meeting to discuss the implications of the Beast King taking a previously unsuitable Omega as his mate. Lady Morgana, an ancient alpha who's challenged Kale's territory before, sends a particularly pointed message. Bonding with weakness makes you weak, Beast King. Perhaps it's time for new leadership. Kyle burns the letter without comment, but Lyra sees the tension in his shoulders. I'm causing you political problems, she says quietly. You're causing insecure alphas to reveal their prejudices, he corrects, which is useful information. But over the next 2 weeks, the pressure builds. Trade agreements are suddenly under review. Border disputes that were settled years ago are being reopened. Rival packs test Kale's territory defenses, looking for weakness. The message is clear. Prove that your mate makes you stronger, or we'll exploit the perceived weakness. Lyra watches Kale handle crisis after crisis, his patience wearing thin. She sees the weight of 3 centuries of leadership pressing down on him, and she realizes that loving him means sharing that burden, not adding to it. I need to do something, she tells him one night. Something that proves I'm not a liability. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, Kyle says firmly. Yes, I do, she insists. Not for them, for me. I need to know that I'm capable of being the partner you need. He studies her face for a long moment, then nods slowly. The Alpha. Council meeting is in 3 days. They'll expect me to come alone, to be questioned about my choices. Come with me instead. Stand before them as my bonded mate and show them exactly who you are. It's terrifying. It's risky. It's exactly what Lyra needs to do. I'll do it, she says. In preparation for the council meeting, Lyra does what she does best. Research. She spends 2 days buried in Kale's extensive library, reading everything she can find about blood moon bonds, ancient pack laws, and historical precedents. And buried in a text written 3 centuries ago, she finds something remarkable. The blood moon bond prophecy, recorded by the last oracle wolf before the bloodline died out. The prophecy speaks of a time when an ancient alpha, grown cold from centuries of isolation, would bond with an omega deemed weak by conventional standards. Their bond, formed under the blood moon's power, would not make the omega stronger to match the alpha. Instead, it would remind the alpha what it meant to feel, to connect, to lead with compassion rather than just strength. The prophecy specifically states that such a bond would signal a shift in pack culture, from valuing only physical dominance to recognizing other forms of power, knowledge, empathy, healing. Lyra brings the text to Kale with shaking hands. He reads it 3 times, his expression growing more amazed with each pass. I'd forgotten this prophecy existed, he admits. It was recorded in my early years, when I was still learning what it meant to rule. The oracle was describing us, Lyra says. 3 centuries ago, someone predicted this bond. Which means our connection isn't a mistake or a weakness, Kale says slowly. It's exactly what was meant to happen. They bring the prophecy text to the council meeting, a piece of evidence that their bond has historical and spiritual significance beyond political convenience. The Alpha Council meets in neutral territory, a massive stone hall that's hosted pack. Leadership for over 1,000 years. 15 of the most powerful alphas in existence sit in a semicircle, with Kyle and Lyra standing before them. The atmosphere is hostile, judgmental, looking for any sign of weakness to exploit. Lady Morgana leads the questioning, her voice dripping with false concern. Beast King, we understand you've completed a blood moon bond with an Omega from Silver Peak Pack. An Omega who, by all accounts, was unable to shift properly until after the bond. That's correct, Kale says, his tone neutral. Some might say this indicates the Omega was fundamentally defective, Morgana continues, that you've bound yourself to weakness out of misguided compassion. Some might say that, Kale agrees. They'd be wrong. Then prove it, another alpha challenges. Let your mate demonstrate that she's worthy of her position. The trap is obvious. If Lyra hesitates, they'll call her unworthy. If Kale defends her, they'll say she needs protection from even basics. Questioning. Either way, the council wins. Lyra steps forward before Kale can respond. With respect, honorable alphas, she says, surprised at how steady her voice sounds. My worth isn't yours to weigh like a piece of meat at market. A murmur ripples through the hall. No Omega speaks to the council like that. Morgana's lips curl. Bold words from someone who couldn't even complete a shift until recently. You're right, Lyra replies. I couldn't. Not until my bond with Kyle. But that doesn't mean I was worthless. While other Omegas perfected their sense and social games, I studied your laws. Your histories. Your treaties. I learned how this world actually works. She holds up the old prophecy scroll. And I learned that 3 centuries ago, an oracle wolf predicted this bond. Not just any blood moon bond, a bond between an ancient alpha grown cold and an omega deemed weak by shallow standards. A bond meant to mark the beginning of a cultural shift, from valuing only brute strength to recognizing other forms of power, knowledge, empathy, strategy, healing. One of the older alphas leans forward, eyes narrowing. You claim to have that prophecy? Lyra steps closer to the semicircle and unrolls the scroll on the stone table between them. The Blood Moon Bond Prophecy, she says. Recorded by Oracle Ilera of the First Pack, preserved in the Northern Archives. It describes an era when an alpha ruler, feared and respected but isolated, would bond with an omega whose strength was invisible to those obsessed with physical dominance. Kale says nothing, letting her lead. His silence is the loudest endorsement he could give. Read it, Lyra tells the elders. See for yourselves. For several long minutes, the hall is silent except for the rustle of parchment and the low murmur of alphas translating the archaic script for themselves. Morgana's face tightens as she recognizes specific phrasing. Ancient king of many winters, omega who walks unseen, blood moon that burns away false strength and reveals true. An elder finally looks up. This is genuine. Lyra nods. So you can call me weak if you like. You can mock the fact that my wolf took longer than yours to emerge. But the truth is, the blood moon didn't fix something broken. It activated what was always there. It paired my kind of strength with his. She looks directly at Morgana. You say loving me makes him weak. You're wrong. It makes him anchored, focused, dangerous in ways he never was when he ruled alone. Because now he has something to protect that isn't just territory or ego. He has a future. Morgana sneers. Pretty speeches won't stop teeth and claws. No, Lyra agrees. But better decisions will. She gestures to Kale. How many wars has he ended before they began? How many border disputes has he resolved with treaties instead of bloodshed? How many times has his reputation alone kept your pack safe from outside threats you never even saw? She lets the silence stretch. If you want a king who rules by fear alone, pray the next blood moon takes me. She finishes quietly. But if you want a world where your children aren't forced to choose between strength and compassion, then understand this. Our bond isn't your weakness. It's your second chance. For a heartbeat, no one moves. Then Morgana stands. If this bond fails, she says slowly, if your softer rule endangers our world, I'll be the first to challenge you. Kyle meets her gaze without flinching. Get in line. His attention returns to Lyra, and in front of the entire council, he steps up beside her instead of in front of her. An unmistakable statement. You've had your test, he says to the semicircle of alphas. My mate has spoken for herself. Understand this. There will be no further questioning of her right to stand at my side. Challenge me if you must, but don't insult her again and expect to leave this hall whole. No one moves, because for all their bluster, they all feel it, the way his power hums now, sharper, calmer, more controlled, anchored by the small omega at his side who just faced down 15 alphas and didn't tremble. One by one, the council members incline their heads, not just to the Beast King, to his mate. On the journey home, Lyra leans against Kyle in the carriage, exhaustion finally catching up to her. You didn't need me to speak, she murmurs. You could have handled them alone. I've handled them alone for 3 centuries, he answers. And for the first time, I didn't want to. He tips her chin up so she has to meet his eyes. You stood before wolves who would have torn you apart 7 years ago and made them listen. Tell me again that you're weak, and I'll call you a liar to your face. Her lips twitch. Careful. People will say the Beast King's gone soft. Let them, he says. Soft is what they call stone after it's learned it can be shaped instead of just used to crush. Weeks turn into months. The world doesn't change overnight, but it begins. Other packs start sending their lesser wolves, the small, the quiet, the strange, to train at Kale's estate, to study in Lyra's growing library, to learn herbal medicine, strategy, diplomacy. Some return home as advisors. Others stay and form something new. A circle of wolves whose power isn't measured in bite force, but in the lives they prevent from being lost. Silver Peak Pack, once the place that let Lyra stand alone and humiliated, now hosts regular envoys from the Beast King's court. The Omega who once bullied her tries to apologize. Lyra accepts it, not for the bully's sake, for her own, because letting go of who they were is part of who she's becoming. 7 years later, another blood moon rises. This time, Lyra watches it from a balcony carved into Chaol's mountain stronghold, a cloak wrapped around her shoulders. Her wolf paces happily beneath her skin, not frantic, not broken, simply alive. Below, in the ceremonial valley they've claimed as neutral ground, young wolves from a dozen packs gather. Some strong, some uncertain, all of them watched by elders who've started to understand that a trembling pup may yet grow into the one who saves them all. Chaol comes up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pulling her back against his chest. "Remember the last one?" he asks, lips brushing her temple. "How could I forget? I was planning to sneak home and cry into my pillow for the rest of the decade. And I was planning to attend, glare at everyone, and leave." She smiles. "We were both very bad at plans. Best failure of my life," he says softly. They stand in comfortable silence for a while, watching as a small wolf at the edge of the crowd, ears too big, stance too unsure, hesitates. Lyra's heart aches in recognition. "Send for them later," she says. "Invite them to study here. I don't want anyone to wait 24 years to learn they were never broken." "As my queen commands," Chaol replies, only half teasing. She turns in his arms, studying the face the world calls Beast King. The scars, the silver eyes, the jaw that has delivered war and peace with equal certainty. "You're not the man the council feared anymore," she says. "I'm more dangerous than ever," he answers, "because now I know what I'm fighting for." "For territory? For you. For what you've built. For every wolf who sees themselves in the girl who stood alone under a red sky and still showed up." The blood moon hangs above them, burning and beautiful. Once, it was a symbol of everything Lyra lacked. Now, it's a reminder of the night she chose herself, and in doing so, gave a 300-year-old king permission to choose something other than fear. She threads her fingers through his. "No one wanted the weak Omega," she says quietly, echoing the words that once defined her. Chaol squeezes her hand. "Good," he replies. "They were never meant to have her." If Lyra and Chaol's blood moon bond made your heart race and your chest ache, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter of this universe. Comment Blood Moon. If you want a part 2 where rival seers challenge the prophecy, a hidden cursed pack asks Lyra for help, and the Beast King is forced to choose between the old way of ruling and the future they're building together.